Welcome to Ground Truth, the official podcast series of Michigan's defense industry. This is where warfighter readiness, autonomy, AI, energy dominance, and engineering brilliance come together, long before they hit the battlefield. Each episode brings you inside the conversations rarely heard outside secure meetings, with Army program leaders, tech disruptors, engineers, suppliers, and policymakers shaping the next generation of U.S. ground vehicle systems. Why Michigan? Because it's where TACOM, DEVCOM, GVSC, OEMs, and America's most advanced defense testbeds call home. This state isn't watching defense innovation happen, it's building it. If you're in defense, advanced mobility, policy, manufacturing, or technology, this is your intel pipeline. GVSETS 2025 is the rally point. This podcast is your way in.
Welcome. I'm Eric Patton, President of Ares Technology and Deputy Chair at GVSETS, the Ground Vehicle Systems Engineering and Technology Symposium. I've been working in the defense space since 2007 and supporting GVSETS since 2016. Starting this year, I've been taking a larger role as the Deputy Chair of GVSETS alongside today's guest, Tom Green, as well as joining the board of NDIA Michigan and AUSA Michigan. With GVSETS around the corner, I'm excited to bring this podcast series exploring the future of ground vehicle technology and innovation, as well as how Michigan's Defense Corridor is leading the way in the U.S. Army's Transformation Initiative, or ATI. We're experiencing an important time in the nation's history right now. There are multiple conflicts going on globally, technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace, and the future of our nation and the democratic world are at stake. I'm here today with U.S. Army Colonel retired Tom Green, President of Dallin Wise, Inc., who is also the event chair of GVSETS. Tom, you got a lot of history supporting technology development for the U.S. Army. Can you tell us a little more about that?
I can. And really it started as a tank platoon leader all the way through when I was back in Texas, Fort Hood and what have you. But then it was the simulation devices that really caught my eye and ended up actually after 9/11, went on active duty and supported various simulation devices across the U.S. Army, specifically for our armor community. After that, went through a number of other jobs and positions that really set me up for success as a operations research systems analyst and a procurement professional with the Army. And finally ended up at the Pentagon with the G357 working the Army's budget as it related to OPTEMPO, which actually makes sure that all of our forces can continue to do their training and operate on a daily basis.
Great. Let's pull on that a little bit. You know, when a lot of people think about Army innovation, they think Pentagon or maybe Silicon Valley. Why is Michigan a place that's leading technology innovation for the U.S. military?
Well, Eric, the Pentagon is really the headquarters for all of our different services. And as such, they are there to provide policy, guidance, and direction, as well as the command structure and funding, of course, and representing us to the congressional delegations and making sure that the appropriations are there. So they're going through and they're really working on a lot of the budgets and strategy. So let's putting it that simply. Innovation's really been left to a lot of the PEOs and the other organizations out there, specifically with the Army. At the time, TRADOC was really the lead there. We had the Futures Command, and now really Michigan has its own innovation that it's had since day one. When even Henry Ford started the assembly line here. So what we've done is Michigan has always had that innovation, especially in the automotive industry. And what a perfect place to put it, especially as the industry itself was actually coming up with better ways of putting our automotive vehicles and equipment together. So even from World War I, when we started putting the tanks together, the assembly line was the way to do that, and it all started here.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. So what makes Michigan mission critical to Army transformation? Break it down for the folks who have never been here before.
Well, like I said, it was the place that we built the first tank. We have the innovation capability continues this day with the companies and the OEMs and the other folks that are really providing the automotive innovation necessary to move our forces forward. So those that have already invested in Novi and Sterling Heights and Warren and the Detroit area, they all know this is where the small and mid-sized companies have a huge impact on the OEMs that are developing and creating the next systems or the current systems that are supporting our troops on the ground today.
Yeah, and I think, as things continue to evolve, the capability of Michigan to scale production is going to be important as well. So, that'll really help us
Absolutely
going into the next fight. You've got TACOM, PEO ground combat systems, PEO combat support and combat service support, as well as the DEVCOM Ground Vehicle Systems Center, which used to be TARDAC, the Tank and Automotive Research, Development and Engineering Command, all located here. That can't be a coincidence. Why is that?
Well, maybe we start with the names. So let's just look at the organizations themselves. I mean, you've got TACOM, Tank Armament and Automotive Command. You've got PEO GCS, Ground Combat Systems. Those are the guys, the PMs that are actually putting the M1s together, the Bradleys together. We go back to TACOM. They're the ones that are maintaining the systems across the force and making sure that these same systems are able to continue to be in the fight and operate. You've got PEO, GCS, or CS and CSS, combat support, combat service support. They're the folks that are creating the next vehicle, the next wheel vehicle, maintaining generators, making sure that we have a way to power our systems, make sure that we have a place to actually do our command structure, as well as the LMTV. I mean, we could go on. Their actual list of items in the portfolio of CS and CSS is massive in what they're able to, or what they've got to maintain. Then finally, as you were mentioning, we've got the Ground Vehicle Systems Center, which was formerly the Tank Automotive Research and Development Command, which again, in the name is actually all of the innovation of what's coming next. What are we going to actually provide next to our ground forces? And as such, all of those organizations work together cohesively. And if you even meet when you meet the leaders of each one of those organizations, you can see it in just talking with them that they all work together seamlessly to make their mission to support the soldiers on the ground.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the broad portfolio in CS and CSS. And a lot of people don't know that all the Army watercraft is managed here in Michigan, as well as petroleum, potable water, exportable power. So there's a lot going on there, even beyond ground vehicles.
A little note actually on the watercraft. Actually, I remember when I was at the Pentagon with the G357, one of the resource projects I had to do was actually what watercraft could we remove from the Army and give back to the Navy that we wouldn't need in order to operate. And in the end, it all came out that we were just going to keep what we had. But we still an interesting analysis of what we've done. And I'll tell you, I've heard from my other folks that have been in that same office. They've that question comes up about every 5 years, especially during palm seasons and what have you. So, and I'm sure our watercraft folks have probably seen that same thing happen here.
Yeah, I bet. All right, let's talk GVSETS specifically. For those who have never been, what's it like inside the symposium?
Well, Eric, I mean, you've been doing this for a while. It's the largest automotive ground combat system focused event that we have. And we have, I think the last numbers we heard was all of our booths were sold out at around 201 or over 200. We're going to have over 24 to 2,500 participants here. We've got 179 papers. Jackie, who runs that, is probably going to correct me later, but I think we had about 180 papers, technical papers that were submitted. We've got presentations that are coming in. And what we will see is a lot of innovation, a lot of folks that are coming to really just show us what their new concepts are, what their ideas are in order to really push our military forces forward.
Yeah, and I think one thing to highlight as well is this year we're going to have some demonstrations from different small businesses, as well as academia. So it's first year we're doing that. We have 8 total tech demonstrators that are going to be going on during the evening receptions, which are top notch, I'll add.
And the receptions aren't bad either.
Yeah. Why is GVSETS such a critical conversion point for Army leaders, OEMs, engineers, and suppliers?
So, interesting enough, it was the Army leadership that really wanted to create GVSETS. What was it, Eric? 18 years ago plus. And it was determined then that really the Army leaders were saying, look, we've got all this innovation, all these small businesses, all these large businesses out there. They've got these great engineers that know a lot about what we're doing, what we're trying to do. Why don't we bring them all together and give us some ideas of what we can do? And so this is the focal point of all those ideas and all that convergence of, what's next? I mean, where can we go with this? And what's the capabilities out there that we don't have today to support our soldiers and keep our soldiers safe?
Yeah, I agree. So what kind of breakthroughs and big ideas have come out of GVSETS in the past? What should we be watching for this year?
Well, in the past, I could tell you, let's see, lightweighting has been a huge issue. I mean, that helps us make sure that we can have vehicles out there that are a little bit more fuel efficient. I mean, fuel efficiencies is nice, but we still have to make sure that we protect our soldiers. But lightweighting components really helps there. We also have the capability of putting in our better fuel efficiency and coming up with different ideas and different concepts on fuel efficiency. We've seen one about hydrogen. I've seen ones about different ways of doing this and actually moving hydrogen safely with other technologies. We've also found one of the other items is anti-lock braking systems for vehicles like the Humvee. It's come out of this conference and been able to be supported, go through Congress, get funding, and actually be starting to be put on a lot of our vehicles to make sure that not only are our troops safe, but the people around us that we're driving on the highways and byways with are also safe. So that's actually key. What we've also found is that the autonomous off-road capability is one of the big things that we've been able to bring out in GVSETS. If you really think about it, with off-road capability, our military vehicles, they're off-road generally more than they're on-road. There's no lines, there's no pavement in a lot of cases, but there's a lot of sandy soil. There could be rocks, mountainous areas, mud, water, depending on the terrain, and all of that autonomy has to correct for each type of terrain that it actually passes over in order to accomplish its mission. So there's a lot that goes into it that just basically than just following a dashed line on the side or maybe using GPS. You've actually got to know what the terrain's actually looking like also. We also have our capability of, oh good grief, plug and play with MOSA, with multi-platform open systems architecture, where what we're able to do is actually take one vehicle or multiple types of platforms and then have multiple small businesses or OEMs be able to plug and play in each one of those type of systems. And that's actually led to, or will continue to lead to, a whole lot of development for us.
Yeah, I like all of those topics, especially what's coming up this year. I mean, there aren't a lot of people that know that the military was leading autonomy through research at Carnegie Mellon years ago, which really spurred the commercial autonomous vehicle space. But the challenge in off-road remains. It's a lot more difficult than the folks doing on-road autonomy understand.
Well, and who was it? It was actually it was Dr. Rogers, now then Major General Rogers, who's now the Adjutant General of Michigan. I think led the charge to actually have autonomous trucks going across into Canada and back across on the international bridge we have here. It was a great demonstration then, and we continue to improve upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of that stuff has come out of this area in Detroit. Dr. Rogers, when he was leading TARDAC, and displayed at GVSETS. So looking into the future, Army modernization isn't just about better hardware. It's about outpacing threats in autonomy, AI, and battlefield energy. What's the Michigan ecosystem doing to lead the way in those areas?
Well, we've talked about quite a bit of that, and even the papers, something as simple, well, not really simple, but simple as one of the engineers writing a paper and a concept idea that he comes up with at his place or his university, and is able to bring it to GVSETS and show it off and show his concept and his capabilities and be able to push that into the next generation platform for our soldiers is key. And by doing that, we've actually leading the way in a lot of cases. Now, we're still challenged by what we have with our near peers that we have across the world. We are challenged by that, and we need to maintain that. And we have a lot of smart folks that work in this area that come to GVSETS to show off what they think should be the next big thing. And this is why being at GVSETS is so important. If you've got an idea, if you've got a concept, bring it to us, and we'd be more than happy to have you take the opportunity to present that to the leadership that's here.
Yeah, I think another thing, building on everything you've said, is moving our ground platforms, as well as the other ones, to software-defined ecosystems, moving to drive-by-wire to enable autonomy,
Yep.
AI embedded to reduce the number of crew that operate the vehicles, and then increase our force multiplier as we go into the next fight. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, and we'll see all of that in August. So let's get blunt. If you're an OEM, an innovator, or a policymaker, why should you come to GVSETS? Why is that the place to be this year for Army modernization?
Well, again, we've said it, but just to reiterate, what you've got is a lot of smart engineers and a lot of smart academia that are out there that are actually providing us a lot of the answers for tomorrow. And in order to be on top of your game and your company, what you need to be is you need to be at GVSETS to understand what those things are that are coming and what you could actually embed in your own systems today. And working with the universities, working with the different small businesses that are out there that are innovating new ideas and new concepts. I mean, it's a small business that came up with some, safely transporting hydrogen products. It was a small business that came up with a number of ideas as it related to anti-lock brakes for our military vehicles. These were all small business adventures that in the end made it onto the vehicles or making it onto the vehicles now. So what we need to do is, if you're interested and you're an OEM and you're a policymaker or you are a small business, this is your place to be in order to really get that feedback or that information from the rest of your peers and the military leaders that are out there. Because this is the opportunity to actually show them what you are capable of.
Yeah, and I think building on that again, we have a better density of key decision makers at our event. I know you said, Tom, we were going to be 2,500, which is close to what we had last year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we'll probably be almost 3,000. But despite that, the density of key decision makers remains consistent. Mm-hmm. We don't have all the fluff and folks coming in just to kick the tires that you have at other exhibitions. They're key decision makers. We have folks in the technology space as well who don't go to other symposiums, because we do have the first day tech sessions where they're able to present their white papers on new technologies they're developing. So everything from CEOs to leading scientists all come to GVSETS, and that's your place to come and talk to them.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's why you should be here. If you're not at GVSETS, you're really losing out on a huge opportunity to see these guys, to see the leaders of our military services, especially those that are making a lot of the decisions as it relates to what we're going to see tomorrow for our soldiers. So who did we just talk about? Who's all at the arsenal, and why are they there? Well, those are the guys that are going to be on the ground. Those are the leaders. Those are the general officers, the SESs that will be on the ground, wanting to hear what somebody has to say. And it is a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got one last question that I want to go into. What do you see as the future of the Army in Indo-PACOM? You know, we're making this big pivot, all of DoD to Indo-PACOM to try to counter our pacing threat right now, which is China. There's a lot of folks who think that we don't need Army anymore. We might not need ground vehicles. I don't agree with that, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, I'll start with Indo-PACOM first. I'll be honest with you, Eric. One of the things that I have been negligent on, even though one of my duty stations was Korea, but I will say that one of my negligent areas right now is really understanding what the strategy is right now in Indo-PACOM. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the panel brings up as it relates to that, to really give myself some ideas as to where I should head with my own company and with those that I'm talking to, and how we can work that. So going to GVSETS is going to be a huge opportunity for me just to learn what that is supposed to look like and what our leaders are thinking there. Now, I will say, as it relates to your second part of your question, where it comes to where ground vehicles at, and how are they going to have an impact overall. You know, we've seen multiple strategies from the Pentagon. Again, policy, they come up with the strategies. We've seen multiple strategies from the Pentagon at one point. I mean, there was a general officer, I won't mention names, but I'm sure all the ones that study strategy out there will know who he is. But he was the one that told Congress that we didn't need all these ground forces. The Air Force could just bomb everything, and that would just take care of everything. Well, that's not true. The truth of the matter is we've proven it time and time again is that we have to have troops on the ground. And in order to get those troops on the ground and maintain that ground, it requires the ground vehicles to do that. It requires Detroit Arsenal to actually be providing the wheel vehicles and the combat vehicles and the support and the innovation in order to put those troops and keep those troops safe on the ground to maintain our strategic advantage and tactical advantage on the ground.
Yeah, I think that brings up an important point about the strength of the U.S. You know, the strength we've always had in our military forces is our ability to fight as a combined force. And more than that, even a combined joint force. But I think some of the failings we've seen at the Russian military in Ukraine, they can't fight that way. And I think as we move to Indo-PACOM, that's going to be more important than ever. So I agree with you. Thanks, Tom, for joining us. It's a great conversation. We welcome everybody to come to GVSETS August 12th through 14th in Novi, Michigan. Registration's open now. And keep your eye out because this is the first part in a continuing series on GVSETS and the Army's role in modernizing the force.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you.